Like, this is from this movie and this setup. And I first start with a few figures. I figure out who's going to be in the scene. It could be the Mandalorian, or it could be Luke Skywalker, or
It is official. We are doing a spoiler sneak peek at all of War of the Bounty Hunters from Marvel Comics. Don't be crying about spoilers. You've all seen Return of the Jedi. We've got beautiful variant covers for the different covers for War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. That's the cornerstone that kicks off both the miniseries and the comic book crossovers. Boba Fett has a problem. Han Solo's carbonite is melting, and if he dies on him, he's going to have a huge problem because Jabba's people are already on him about getting Han to them. So Fett takes Han to Nar Shaddaa to a specialist who knows how to fix carbonite prisons, but the guy refuses to fix Han unless Boba takes out this person he needs killed. So Boba actually has to sign up in a gladiator fight to fight some spider lady for this guy. He wins. But when Boba gets back, he finds that the carbonite specialist has been murdered and Han Solo has been stolen. Fett has to get him back because Jabba the Hutt does not accept failure. Thus begins the War of the Bounty Hunters. Jabba the Hutt. Trust issues. A one-shot comic in the War of the Bounty Hunters continuity. Takes place during War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha and right before number 1. We are on Jabba's palace on Tatooine. Our Hutt cartel gangster lord is bored out of his skull saying, "Where's Han Solo? Where's Boba Fett?" And Fortuna saying, we haven't heard anything. Then we have this flashback of Boba Fett and this female bounty hunter working together to annihilate a whole bunch of people. She tried to double-cross Boba, and it went very badly for her. Then Jabba gets an unannounced visitor who makes this big old song and dance about giving him a special invitation, and he hands him a card with the Crimson Dawn logo, and Jabba's going, "What the heck?" Well, that female bounty hunter has been following Boba for Jabba. She reports back to him that Boba Fett does not have Han Solo anymore, and then Jabba's thinking, "How dare Boba Fett betray me? I will have my revenge." Continued in War of the Bounty Hunters. Star Wars number 13, part of War of the Bounty Hunters. So Luke is on the Falcon doing Jedi training when Chewbacca says, "Hey, we got a hot tip, Boba Fett's been spotted on Nar Shaddaa." So they decide to go to Nar Shaddaa. They find out there's a new gladiator champion named Django. They go to the ring to find out more about him, but they get ratted out. They end up having to fight some criminal enforcers. Luckily, they narrowly escape that pickle. But when they get back to the Falcon, 3PO says, "Hey, we gotta get back to the fleet." Princess Leia says somebody has Han Solo. Darth Vader Issue 12, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. So apparently on Exegol, Vader tried to step up to Palpatine, and Palpatine gave him a come-to-Jesus moment, and now Vader's coming back all jacked up. We get some Episode 3 looking imagery while he heals in the most painful way possible, and he thinks about his fight on Cloud City with Luke, emphasis on cutting off the hand. Then he thinks about this other time he ran into Han Solo after Episode 4, and we get an awesome view of a Corellian shipyard. Flash forward to Baku the Hutt scheming with the creepy dude from Episode 9. He says, "Hey, let me introduce you to my boss. You'll get rewarded if you bring Han Solo to us." Continued in War of the Bounty Hunters number 1. Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 10. The first crossover in this series with War of the Bounty Hunters. I don't really care much for the character Dr. Aphra, to be honest, but she does get into fun hijinks because she's basically female Indiana Jones in space. Aphra is trying to steal a rare engine, but it is currently in a ship that's being held up by some psycho named Vukora. Aphra is trying to distract Vukora to buy some time for the cops to get there, but time is running short, and Vukora is executing hostages. Aphra accidentally starts a huge explosion. Luckily, the cops arrive to deal with Vukora's holdup, and Afra gets out of there. Now we're on the ship The Acquisitor. We're in tag space in the corporate sector, and this is Domina Tag, who is Afra's employer. And Domina is basically all the Medicis and the Borgias in one person in space. Domina gives Afra an arms smuggler to go follow and says before he left, he mentioned wanting to discuss an incredible opportunity he's been invited to take part in. And then he disappeared on Domina, and he expects to make bank off this special opportunity. After Afra leaves, Domina is discussing how she is aware there are spies in her organization, and that means that they're probably her family members, and these spies have already tried to kill her. Meanwhile, the weapons dealer that Afra is sent to follow is being sent by the Sixth Kin criminal cartel to this special opportunity. I wonder what it could be. Wink, wink. It's going to be a hell of a ride. Continued in War of the Bounty Hunters #1. Darth Vader #13, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Darth Vader annihilates all of Baku the Hutt's guards, while Sith Assassin says, yeah, you should work with Vader. Baku says, okay, fine, Jabba the Hutt put out a bounty on Boba Fett because he lost Han Solo. We can take my ship and go to Hutt space and look for him. Well, they take Vader's ship and they get attacked, and it turns out the attackers are led by IG-88, who's kicking a lot of ass. He uses some type of electronic hack to get Vader's cybernetic arm to almost decapitate him, but Vader uses the Force, gets IG-88 to blow his own head off, and then he takes his databanks, uploads them, finds a Crimson Dawn invitation. Then, IG-88, somehow reassembled, quits the bounty. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, issue #1, Most Wanted. It's actually issue #2 in the saga, but this is the one that's numbered #1. And Han Solo has been stolen from Boba Fett. Fett is out looking for Solo, and he ends up having to rough up some young punks who are trying to attack him to up their reputation or something. Then Fett gets attacked by the bounty hunter Zuckuss and his little droid companion. But Fett is the one with the rockets and the jetpack. He ends up Sparta-kicking Zuckuss into oblivion. The droid is messed up, and then Fett takes the droid's head for its data. Then Boba Fett just drops in unannounced at Jabba's palace on Tatooine, while Jabba's away, unfortunately, and says, hey, something's fishy. I need more time to get Han Solo, and if you don't give me more time, I'm going to kick everybody's ass. Meanwhile, Jabba's on his war barge. He's having an annoying Zoom meeting with the other Hutt leaders, and they're saying, hey, we're hearing Han Solo is up for auction. What the hell's going on? And he's going, I don't know what the hell's going on. For LOM and Zuckuss. Zuckuss must die. This is a War of the Bounty Hunters one-shot that takes place after War of the Bounty Hunters miniseries issue #1. We are in a slum on Nar Shaddaa, so Hutt space, and a half-dead Zuckuss comes stumbling out of some hole in the wall and falling down unconscious. Zuckuss stumbles into a bar and finds this group of bounty hunters that he works with, which apparently includes Rocket Raccoon. Okay, well, not really Rocket Raccoon, but seriously, Marvel, what's with this character? That's weird. This team of bounty hunters that Zuckuss works with used to include 4LOM and also Diva Lompop, the bounty hunter who tried double-crossing Boba Fett and who got fried. So now everybody on this team hates Boba Fett. And somebody gets a little too fresh with one of the female bounty hunters. She hits him. This starts a big old bar fight. Not Rocket Raccoon pulls out a knife. And Zuckuss isn't even paying attention because he's thinking back on all the ass that him and 4LOM used to kick together. Now remember, in War of the Bounty Hunters #1, Boba Fett decapitated 4LOM, and we have no idea what he ended up doing to the head. But now we've got this insect guy who is holding 4LOM's head and talking about revenge. Well, on the topic of Mosquito Man's revenge, Zuckuss and his bounty hunter accomplices get attacked by 4LOM with a giant robot spider body. There's a big old epic battle, and meanwhile Zuckuss is begging with this droid 4LOM to remember their friendship and stop attacking them. Well, it turns out Mosquito Man used 4LOM as revenge because 4LOM and Zuckuss killed his brother, so Zuckuss takes him out. What was he even doing there at the side of the battle? And Spider 4LOM gets destroyed. The bounty hunters are celebrating, but Zuckuss is all sad because his only true friend in the world, or in the galaxy, is gone. Dr. Aphra number 11, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Aphra and her partner are out collecting a bounty when they find everybody on the ship already dead, including Dominatag's cousin, but on the body they find the Crimson Dawn invitation. Then out of nowhere, Dirge comes walking right back into canon and he says, "Hey, give me that dead body, that's my bounty." Then they get attacked by these weird little slimy alien insect creatures and they keep reproducing. They finally get Dirge in an airlock so they can shoot the little bugs out, but they betray Dirge and shoot him out into space too, which was really dumb. And then back on Dominatag's ship, she says, my cousin's dead, too bad, so sad. I'm sending you ladies to the Crimson Dawn auction. Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 13, Showdown on Smuggler's Moon, part of War of the Bounty Hunters. Dengar and Valance make it to an arms market on Nar Shaddaa, where they're about to meet one of Dengar's connects who knows some information. Dengar's explaining this is going to take patience and tact, and instead, Valance just knocks the crap out of the guy, hoping that he'll be more incentivized to talk. Instead of being incentivized to talk, the alien actually orders a bunch of guards to kill them. Luckily, our bounty hunters win the fight because Valance is a cyborg with special powers. But lo and behold, Chewbacca and C-3PO are in that neck of the woods when Valance's ruckus crosses their paths. Chewbacca sees and remembers Valance and immediately attacks him. While Chewbacca is beating the crap out of Valance, he sees Dengar, remembers an old beef, and then immediately starts kicking Dengar's ass. Valance finally gets Chewbacca to hear him out. He explains what was really going on, and Chewbacca says, "Well, thanks for trying to help, but stay the hell out of my way or I'll annihilate you." Meanwhile, some foot soldiers for a local crime syndicate have stumbled onto the scene of a massacre. They immediately get surrounded on all sides and they realize Crimson Dawn is absolutely back. Valance is finally interrogating Dengar's Connect and absolutely does not believe that Crimson Dawn is back, that they stole Han Solo from Boba Fett, and that they're about to auction it off. He thinks that's the dumbest tall tale he has ever heard. Then Dengar's contact gets taken out by a sniper, and Valance and Dengar get attacked by Crimson Dawn. Star Wars Bounty Hunters. Issue 14, the following. So this purple-robed assassin lady has just attacked Dengar and Valance, and now they're in a high-speed chase on the smuggler's moon, trying to escape her. They go to some old lady's guild house that Dengar knows to hide out. Then we go to this full-scale battle at the Mourner's Whale Sanctuary. Now, all the Mourner's Whale gangsters have already been dead. I believe these are Unbroken Clan guys who are fighting against Crimson Dawn soldiers, and it's not going well for them. Back at the guild safe house, we've got Mama Stamets telling Dengar and Valance the history of Crimson Dawn and how they came back. Hey, Dryden Voss from Andor, how about that? And they get attacked because the Crimson Dawn assassin found them. Dengar and Valance are losing that fight, and they barely escape with the help of a thermal detonator, making a hole in the wall for them to fly out of there. Then we, the readers, learn that the assassin is not actually trying to kill them yet. She's just corralling them where Daenerys wants them. where Kira wants them. I hope you've been listening to our full episodes of Rangers of the Old Republic on this channel. Star Wars number 14, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. We start off with Leia having Han Solo PTSD flashbacks, and she decides we've got to save him. She gets a message from a rebel spy saying, hey, Crimson Dawn has him, they're going to auction him. They go talk to Lando Calrissian about recruiting shady people to help steal Han back, and he calls Jabba the Hutt, says, hey, I owe you a package, I'll set it up here. I guess this is going to distract him or something. And then they get into a little fender bender with the Black Sun Cartel, which turns into the Black Sun guys chasing and shooting at them. Chewbacca takes evasive maneuvers. They make an emergency crash landing, but Leia's going, hey, at least we know Han's... Star Wars Bounty Hunters, number 15, The Gathering, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. We start out at the Unbroken Clan safe house on Nar Shaddaa. Some of the survivors of the battle with Crimson Dawn have just gotten back, and boom, they get attacked by the purple-robed assassin from Crimson Dawn. But she's not there to kill that blonde guy. She's actually there to give him an invitation. And he's telling her, but I'm not the leader of the Unbroken Clan. And she says, yeah, but de facto you are, so here, just take the invite. At the Nar Shaddaa spaceport, Dengar and Valance are trying to get off planet on a low profile, so they take public transport. Tonga and the pink-haired lady go to the fighting pits to recruit a fighter to join the team to go on a big challenging bounty hunt. Dengar and Valance make it to Canto Bight, the casino planet from episode 8. They go to talk to the leader of the Unbroken Clan, that gnarly dude we've seen before, and he's about to kill them because Dengar owes them money. But then Valance says, hey, you're not a big fan of Crimson Dawn. Let us go to this special event they're having and we'll mess it up on your behalf. And he says, I like this one. Tonga and the pink-haired lady and their new guy go to Zuckuss' sanctuary, where Zuckuss is feeling all sorry for himself over 4 LOM, but they end up recruiting him for one more bounty hunt. Dengar and Valance get attacked again by the purple-robed assassin, whose name is Deathstick, by the way. And she's kicking their butts again. They somehow escape on foot through a casino, but remember, she's not actually trying to kill them, she's trying to corral them. And then Dengar goes, hey, look what I stole, ho 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 ho. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, Chapter 2, The Scoundrels Ball. So, on the Crimson Dawn flagship on Jakara, we've got Lady Daenerys. Kira is absolutely stoked about the auction that's about to start. And anybody who's anybody in the underworld is there. We've got the Hutts, we've got the Pikes, we've got Black Sun, we've even got the Imperials. Now, Baku the Hutt, having just been made into Darth Vader's bitch, is complaining, man, nobody respects us, I'm out of here. And Jabba says, no, sit down, just stay where you are. Then outside, Boba Fett shows up. Boba Fett gets attacked by Bossk and his minions, but he kicks their ass. Then he leaves Bossk tied up on a block of ice, and he just leaves him stranded there, and he's going, no, you can't leave me here, I'm cold-blooded, I'll die! Inside the party, Dr. Aphra and her partner have showed up. Let the bidding begin. Jabba the Hutt actually wins the auction, and then outside, all of them show up at the same time. Well, isn't this awkward? Darth Vader number 14, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. So it turns out Administrator Moore was sent by Palpatine to kill Vader as a test of strength, but she failed, so she has been demoted to Sub-Administrator, and she's in an office hating her life. But they do find some intel about Skywalker and the Crimson Dawn auction. Then she's studying Vader's suit to find weaknesses in his armor. And then we find out that it was her cult that hired IG-88 to kill Vader, but he says, no, I quit, he can't be beat. And then Vader pops up out of nowhere and annihilates him again. and then he annihilates all the rest of the cultists except for Administrator Moore. He sends her to the auction to get Han Solo for him, but then he decides, you know what, I'm just gonna go pick up Han Solo myself. Star Wars number 15, A War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Luke is temporarily attached to Starlight Squadron, and they're getting ready to do a rescue mission for Lieutenant Bay. She's part of a garrison on world that's getting annihilated by an Imperial attack. The Imperial attack force is commanded by a Bavarian SS general who's parked a Star Destroyer over a volcano. Because the ground is tectonically unstable, Luke bombs the volcano, and then the Star Destroyer gets annihilated by magma. And then Leia calls Luke and she says, "Hey, we need your help, Luke." And he says, "Let me see what I can do." Dr. Aphra number 12, A War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Aphra and her partner are on Jakara on the Vermilion, and they've got a plan. Aphra steals a jewel from the Black Sun Syndicate because she's stupid. And meanwhile, the Unbroken Clan guys get in a fight, everybody else is bidding on Han Solo, then Vader shows up and Aphra starts freaking out because she's remembering the last time Vader checked her and wrecked her, and she knows she's gotta run or she's gonna die. Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunters Part 3, The Crimson Blade. So Darth Vader shows up on the Vermilion and he says, "Yeah, I'm just gonna take Han Solo." And Jabba says, "But I bought Han Solo, he's mine." And Vader says, "Yeah, but I could make your life either very complicated or very short." And Jabba says, "Yeah, good point, you can take him." Meanwhile, Leia and Chewbacca run into Boba Fett. That's pretty awkward. And Chewbacca just wants to throttle him, but Fett says, "You know, if you start a fight with me right now, you're gonna ruin your chance to save Solo." But Chewbacca says screw it, and then him and Fett start grappling, and Fett kind of wins. Baku the Hutt complains to Vader, "You can't just disrespect the Hutts like that." And Vader's like, "Do I know you?" And Jabba says, "Nah, no you don't worry about it." Then Lady Kira says, "Lord Vader, if you're gonna disrespect Crimson Dawn, then I'm gonna fight you." And she gets owned. As Vader is about to annihilate Kira, he feels Luke in the Force flying over the planet. Then he says, "Hey Luke, if you don't come down and fight me, I'm gonna kill your friend." Darth Vader number 15, A War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. We have a flashback to before the auction. Vader's making Ochi do his dirty work. He sends him right into a bar where a criminal gang's hanging out. Ochi snatches a Crimson Dawn invitation and says, "Hey, what can you tell me about this?" Then Vader drops back in on Baku, says, "Hey, you're going to bid against Jabba for Han Solo. You're going to lose. You're going to be humiliated." Then Ochi gets attacked by a bunch of Crimson Dawn soldiers and says, "Don't piss off my boss Darth Vader." And they say, "Ah, ha, 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 we're not scared of Vader." But Ochi is scared of Vader, so he annihilates the rest of that group. Then Vader shows up, and back-to-back, they fight a bunch more Crimson Dawn soldiers. Star Wars number 16, part of the War of the Bounty Hunters story. Two things about this issue. Number one, it is very heavy on flashbacks to Luke's fight with Vader on Cloud City. And number two, it takes place at exactly the same time as War of the Bounty Hunters number 3. So for example, Luke is on his way to Jakara to the Vermilion. Now we are on the Vermilion. Lady Kira is fighting Darth Vader in front of Han Solo's carbonite body. Now remember, she has been Darth Maul's right-hand woman for a while, so it makes sense that she would have the courage to take on Vader. Meanwhile, Chewie, Lando, and Leia are freaking out off to the side. Luke arrives over Jakara, but finds that there is an Imperial Star Destroyer. We get to see the bridge of the Executor, and we get to see my man, Admiral freaking Piet. He dispatches a squad of TIE fighters to attack Luke's X-Wing and corral him into tractor beam range. Luke's only hope is to draw other ships into the fight, so he intentionally flies close to some criminal syndicate ships to draw them into the fight, and then we get some of the Sontuk Pride ships actually get strafed by Imperials, so they say, screw it, fine, shoot back at the Empire. Admiral Piet promptly puts an end to that little skirmish. Then Vader is about to wax Kira when he gets distracted by Skywalker. So now we are back to Vader saying, "Hey Luke, if you don't come down here, I'm going to cut Han Solo in half." And Leia is freaking out saying, "Come on Luke, come down here." And Luke says, "No." As far as story elements, Star Wars number 16 did not contribute anything new to War of the Bounty Hunters. It is almost identical to War of the Bounty Hunters number 3, and this one doesn't even have Boba Fett. This issue's major redeeming quality is Admiral freaking Piet. Dr. Aphra number 13, part of War of the Bounty Hunters. We are on the Vermilion on Jakara. Aphra's freaking out because she knows she is on Vader's shit list. While he's distracted fighting Kira, Sana gets Aphra to snap out of it because they still have a job to do. They go back to attack the Falleen that they robbed earlier to take more jewels because they're stupid. And meanwhile, the 6 kin guys get attacked by Deathstick, and they get promptly dispatched by Deathstick. And then Aphra and Sana go wandering. They run right into a security droid who knocks the crap out of them, and they wake up in a maximum security Crimson Dawn prison. Yikes. Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 16, Shadow Soldiers, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Dengar and Valance are still traveling together, looking for Han Solo. They arrive on Jakara near the Crimson Dawn Fortress flagship. Great artwork. Bossk, having had his butt kicked by Boba Fett, is laying on a block of ice, freezing to death. And Dengar and Valance find him, and then he goes, "Valance, I'll kill you too." So then they go, "Well, fine, I guess you don't need our help, bye." They do some sneaky McSneakery, and they do some trickery, and they take out a group of Crimson Dawn guards. But who do they run into? Dun dun dun! Well, the bounty hunters fight, and the fight is pretty epic, but in an interesting turn of events, Dengar gets isolated on a floating block of ice, and while Valance is about to take out Boba Fett goes, you need me to get Han Solo. So, Boba Fett and Valance leave together, with Dengar still stranded on the ice going, "What the hell, man?" We've got Tonga and Zuckuss and the Unbroken Clan guys who find Bossk freezing in the ice. They want to help him, but one guy mouths off, and Bossk breaks out of the ice and starts kicking his ass. Then, in a strange twist of fate, Dengar gets saved by none other than Deathstick, the Crimson Dawn purple-robed assassin. Apparently he's useful to her now. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, number 4, The Skywalker Gambit. Where we left off, Darth Vader's got his lightsaber in front of Han Solo and he's saying, "Luke Skywalker, come fight me or I kill Solo." Luke does not take the bait. He knows Solo is too important for Vader to kill, so he's going to try to make Vader chase him, while Lando, Chewie, and Leia are agonizing watching this going on from a distance. Meanwhile, Baku the Hutt, who up until now has been Darth Vader's secret little shit piggy, is telling Jabba, "You won the auction, you're really gonna just let the Empire take Solo?" And Jabba says, "Yeah, I am. Deuces, I'm out of here." And it's after Jabba leaves that Baku gets brave and he says, "You shall not pass." Boba Fett is outside this little shindig, annoyed as hell at watching the Imperials take away his bounty. And that's when Fett gets attacked by Dengar and Valance. They fight. Dengar gets isolated on a block of ice. And just as Valance is about to blow Boba Fett's head off with his hand blaster, Fett says, "Hey, the Empire just took away Solo while we were fighting. LMAO. So Valance ditches Dengar, and he goes off with Boba Fett on a temporary truce. They hate each other and they have diametrically opposed goals, but they do need to work together to get Han Solo from the Imperials. Luke is trying to lead Vader away from Jakara, away from his friends, and his friends are trying to chase the Imperials to get Han Solo. Meanwhile, Lady Kira, saying, "Well, Darth Vader was an unexpected Charlie Fox, but other than that, this party went great." As Fett is trying to clear the Jakara system, he sees all these ships from the Hutt fleet looking like they're going to attack an Imperial Star Destroyer, and it looks like Baku is cooking something up. Dun dun dun! Star Wars Dr. Aphra number 14. Repeat Offenders. Part of War of the Bounty Hunters. Aphra and her partner Sana wake up in a maximum security prison. They do not know they are on the brig of the Vermilion. It turns out they're sharing that cell with Ariel and Jess Lucky, the 6 kin guys that they've been following for their employer, Domina Tag. They get approached by Ariel and Jess Lucky's former teacher, Cray, and the huge security droid who say, "Hey, by the way, you should probably just not try to escape." So Aphra starts a fight as a distraction. In the midst of the kerfuffle, Aphra jumps on top of the security droid and starts messing with its wiring. She successfully rewires it to be her droid. She zaps Cray, and the group starts attempting an escape. They find some boomsticks. Well, isn't that convenient? And they use said boomsticks to dispatch a group of Crimson Dawn soldiers. They sneak into the official Crimson Dawn art gallery. They see Lady Kira, with the necklace that they stole previously from the Falling woman, who is actually a Crimson Dawn agent, and Kira puts it away inside a glass case, and then walks out and says, "Hey, I gotta get back to the party, it's almost over." And the group gets attacked by Deathstick. Dun dun dun! Darth Vader number 16, part of War of the Bounty Hunters. So Luke calls Vader's bluff over Jakara and flies away, so Vader gets in his TIE fighter and starts chasing the hell out of him. Luke has to crash land on Jakara, and then Vader gets attacked by robots. It turns out the robots were deployed by Administrator Moore, who brags about it, so Ochi attacks her, because he's afraid of Vader now that he's working for him now. And then Vader watches Baku about to betray him in real time. Star Wars number 17. The Chase. Part of War of the Bounty Hunters. Vader forced Luke back down onto Jakara, and now he is chasing and shooting the hell out of him. Luke uses some trickery to make Vader crash into the ice, and then Luke tries to get away while Vader watches, all pissed off. Meanwhile, Lando, Leia, Chewie, 3PO, and Lobot are on the Falcon. Everybody's floating in space because somebody in the big collection of people shot a big EMP, so there's a bunch of ships just floating out in space, including the Falcon. And Leia is anxious as heck because Han is right there. There's actually a really touching scene where you've got Lando inside the Falcon trying to fix it, and he's apologizing to the Falcon for losing her and all the abuse she's suffered over the years, and it is quite moving, I have to admit. Then Lando and Leia watch in awe as a Hutt fleet approaches the Imperial vessel carrying Han Solo. And Vader got unstuck from the ice. What you gonna do now, Luke? Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, number 5, Attack at Dawn. The Imperial shuttle is carrying Han Solo. Baku the Hutt sends his minions to go grapple that shuttle and tow it, and Baku is basically tired of being disrespected by the Empire. So the Empire scrambles fighters to go fight him. And then Baku orders all Hutt forces to destroy the Imperial Star Destroyer Executor. The Imperial shuttle carrying Han Solo has made it back to the Star Destroyer, and we've got Boba Fett and Valance using the starting battle as the distraction they need to go right on the Star Destroyer and try to get Han Solo back. Leia, Lando, and Chewie get a stroke of luck. They are allowed to just land in the hangar of the Star Destroyer by an Imperial officer who is a Crimson Dawn agent. Now, why is Crimson Dawn helping them? Boba Fett and Valance fight some droids, and then he betrays Valance. He blows him up and leaves him there dying. Meanwhile, Admiral Piet is not fazed by the Hutt's funny little attack. Because of the battle with the Hutts, Vader is ordered to abandon his little pursuit of Luke Skywalker to go deal with the new situation. Chewie, Leia, and Lando have an epic firefight and take out a bunch of Imperials, and Leia finally reaches Han Solo! And Boba Fett says, "Oh, hell no." There's a big boom, and Han Solo falls right out of the ship. But Boba Fett has the grappling hook, and he gets Han Solo back. Meanwhile, the Hutt Council is freaking out, having a little Mexican standoff, and the other guys are saying, "Baku, you are going to get us all killed." And then Vader shows up and says, "Yes, he will." Lady Daenerys is really happy with the events of the day because now there's going to be a realignment of the balance of power in the galaxy. And she is addressing all her minions. The dawn has come. And her minions include the Knights of Ren. Maybe in Crimson Reign we'll get some freaking straight answers about who are the Knights of Ren. Finally, back on Tatooine, Boba Fett brings Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt and says, "What the hell, man? You put a bounty on me." And Jabba's like, "Hey, sorry, bro. It's nothing personal. No hard feelings, huh?" Now that concludes the War of the Bounty Hunters miniseries. But it does not conclude War of the Bounty Hunters. There's still a little bit more to go. Bounty Hunters number 17, Last Stand, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. Aboard Vader's flagship, the Executor, Valance, having been betrayed and left behind by Boba Fett, is surrounded by stormtroopers. But he's going to fight them all because he's Valance. Aboard Tonga's ship, she and her crew ended up rescuing Bosk, and now they're on their way to go get Valance as well. The Hutts are dead, but the space battle between the Empire and the remnants of the Hutt fleet is still going on. And down on the Vermilion, Kira, is just enjoying the hell out of this. Kira also promises to blonde bounty hunter chick, who I previously thought was a dude, my bad, the position of head of the Unbroken Clan cartel if she will swear fealty to Crimson Dawn, which implies Crimson Dawn will help her overthrow and kill the current leadership. And she says, "Await the dawn." Clink of glass. Having kicked all the stormtroopers' asses, Valance is making his escape, but he gets held up at gunpoint by an Imperial cadet. Valance talks him down, but they're standing next to, apparently, an emergency exit, and the Imperial officers open the emergency exit, and the cadet gets sucked out. They're trying to get rid of Valance, and they sacrifice their own guy. Tonga and the crew pull up, Zuckuss is reaching out from the ship, and Valance is trying to do Michelangelo's leap of faith. But he gets pulled back and his arm gets ripped off right in Zuckuss's hand. What happened? Vader happened. When Valance wakes up, he has been repaired, and it's because he's back in the Imperial Army and he is Vader's slave. What a hell of a volume this was. What a hell of a crossover. War of the Bounty Hunters really is something. Dr. Aphra number 15, a War of the Bounty Hunters crossover. So Aphra and Sana and the other two are in the art gallery getting attacked by Deathstick, and a hail of blaster fire barely saves Aphra from the assassin's poison blade. Then Aphra gets distracted by something shiny and she touches it and it activates, and she has special powers that she uses to make Deathstick stab herself with her poison blades, but the shiny thing blows up and now Aphra's all hurt. The four of them leave the art gallery, they have a little Mexican standoff, then the guy's ship blows up because Aphra excels at screwing people over. Then back on the ship, they're reading a Crimson Dawn intel report when Aphra concludes, "Crimson Dawn is everywhere." Darth Vader number 17, final series crossover with War of the Bounty Hunters. Ochi is fighting Sly Moore for her treachery against Vader, while Baku the Hutt presses the attack against the Empire. Vader's called away from chasing Luke to deal with the Hutts personally, And he shows up on their flagship with his lightsaber and starts whacking them. And right before executing Baku, he finds out Baku joined Crimson Dawn, and he's truly surprised. But he executes Baku anyway. Then he's force-choking Sly Moore back on the Star Destroyer for a treachery, but Palpatine says, hey, you got a homework assignment, take out all the Crimson Dawn assassins. Then Lady Kira was captured by Ochi's assassin colleagues somehow. He kills them and frees her, and we find out that Ochi is also part of Crimson Dawn. To be continued. Star Wars number 18. The final crossover of War of the Bounty Hunters with the Star Wars title series. Believing Han Solo to be dead, Leia thinks back on all the terrible times she's had, and she has lost hope. And then Lando sees that they might have some bigger problems at the moment. Turns out it's Lady Kira, and she says, hey, I'm just here to talk to Leia, it's important. She says, yes, I sold him. I had to do what I had to do, but I also moved a bunch of my agents to help you. I even fought Darth Vader myself and fed intelligence to Holdo that this auction was happening in the first place. Then she tells some feel-good story about back on Corellia when they were in Lady Proxima's gang. Han got his butt kicked, stepping up for the little guy. Leia says, yeah, that's a cute story, but I already knew he was a good guy. Now I'm taking you back for a Rebel Alliance military tribunal. And Kira says, he's not dead. Boba Fett caught him. He took him to Jabba's palace. He's on the wall right now. Everybody says, what? Han's alive? And Kira says, yeah, Han's alive. And if you let me walk out of here, I can help you get him back. To be continued in Crimson Dawn. I love how this is totally not the first time Leia has had to deal with some diabolical hot chick ex from Han Solo's past.
What's the word? Improvising out there in the wild when I go, okay? So I'm almost always thinking of a place where I can take the figures to be positioned in a scene, like a backdrop. So I've brought them to the beach a few times. The beach is actually a very good double for the sands of Tatooine. There's another camp that I visit every so often that has redwood trees, and that's a good double for indoor. And then I've used my desktop to use as a stage for some of the actual action figure like play sets or whatnot.
And where do we go today?
We went out to the desert.
Yeah, we went out to the Mojave. Specifically, we found a place off of Fort Irwin Road, which I'm familiar with that terrain because I used to work at that base as a private contractor back in my past life. But I knew that the terrain would be good for replicating certain scenes of Tatooine. Unfortunately, the land that would look more like the Dune Sea is way inside the base.
Yeah.
And now that I've been in the civilian world for a while, there's just no way to get there. But we did find some rugged yellow and white stretches of desert in between the red and orange stretches where we were able to replicate some canyons like from the Jundland Wastes.
Yeah.
And talk me through your process of preparing these figures like before you come out here, or improving the figures from how you bought them, or keeping them how you bought them, but changing other things without physically altering them. I mean, what's your process there, and what are you doing as an artist?
What I do, I'll get fodder from secondhand stores or eBay or Mercari or OfferUp, and I'll start to piece it together in my brain. Like, this is from this movie and this setup. And I first start with a few figures. I figure out who's going to be in the scene. It could be the Mandalorian, or it could be Luke Skywalker, or in this case, like some Tusken Raiders. And I just kind of start from there. I try to have... One of the things that I've realized, first of all, is that it's kind of difficult to it's very easy to overproduce something. Like I produced a lot of Tusken Raiders for this shoot because I wanted to replicate the clan in A New Hope. But that's only 3 or 4 figures. But I produced 6 using the A New Hope head from the latest vintage collection figures. But then also what I did, so the process that I did today was called troop building. So you get 3 or 4 figures that have interchangeable parts, and by doing that you swip and swap heads or arms or legs or other accessories, and you make a new figure so that it's not completely the same the way that it was. And because I did that, I had different bodies, different torsos of different colors. You're able to make a solid colored Tusken Raider that has a light tan or a tan suit, or the dark tan suit from the new release that came out.